Welcome to Sold with Webinars, a podcast that aims to uncover how the most successful experts, coaches, consultants, and e-course professionals sell their products and services with just one sales presentation or webinar. A simple sales webinar can transform the business and life of a solopreneur. And this podcast will show you how other experts just like you are generating 6 and 7 figures per year online with their webinars. So let's get started. Hey there, Joel Irway here, and thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm really excited about having today's guest on the show, Mike Morrison. And with today's interview, we took a little bit of a different angle than we normally do with talking about webinars, and we're focusing on the product today. Now, Mike runs a site called The Membership Guys, and he helps business owners and entrepreneurs build membership sites or information hubs, information and expertise hubs to sell their products and services. Now, I reached out to Mike because webinars are such a congruent method to sell membership sites for their customers. And so I wanted to talk to him and learn a little bit of information on how he uses webinars to sell more memberships for his programs and how his clients use webinars to sell membership sites. And so he gave us a lot of really cool information, and he talks about why webinars are so effective for this type of product. And so I want you to really focus in and learn on this and learn from Mike what his strategies are for using webinars to sell membership sites. You're going to get a lot of great tidbits and strategies. And so without ruining any more of the information of the interview, let's get right into today's show. Mike, how you doing, man?
I am doing good. Joel, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So, Mike, I always do a terrible job of butchering up the introduction, so I want to pass the ball to you and give us a little bit of background information about, where you're coming from, what you're doing with the Membership Guys, and let our audience know what you're up to.
All right. So, first and foremost, I'm just always impressed anybody can understand my accent. So I'm hoping that we haven't lost too many of your listeners when they're wondering, where in the hell I'm from. But I've been around in the space for as long as I can remember, running digital agency, online marketing, and just over the years, I've gravitated more towards the type of business and the type of projects that I always enjoyed helping clients with. And that was memberships. Memberships kind of combine the fun stuff on the technical front, on the marketing and the strategy side that I enjoy, and I love it as a business model. That recurring revenue, man, that is like, it's the holy grail. So I've been working along with my partner with a variety of clients in a whole bunch of markets for years on a one-on-one basis, and we were just having more and more people coming to us with questions. They want to pick our brains or grab a coffee, and how people do. And we initially just started trying to find somewhere to send them. Go bother this person, go join this Facebook group, or, pay for this membership. And there wasn't anybody out there really giving the sort of advice in this niche. And so my partner, Callie, and I decided, planted our flag in the sand. We fired all of our clients, not quite as dramatically, but we moved away from working with clients. Planted our flag in the sand as the Membership Guys. We're big fans of being very literal. And we started our membership site about membership sites, where we now have hundreds of members in there running a variety of different market-based membership sites of all shapes and sizes. And we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. Very cool, man. So for anyone who might be listening right now, maybe they're just getting started and they might not fully understand what a membership site truly is. Could you give somebody just a very basic definition of what a membership site is, and maybe a couple different examples of what a membership site is?
Sure thing. So, a membership site is essentially just any website where someone needs to have a registered account in order to access protected content of some form. And typically, if you want to keep the lights on, that will involve that person paying you for access to that content. Now, technically, Netflix, Amazon Video, and all that sort of stuff, they're membership websites. But in the online space, a membership site will usually involve some form of e-learning element, courses, tutorials, live training webinars, and usually a community. So either an online forum or a Facebook group, although please don't get me started on using Facebook groups for paid memberships. Honestly, that's a whole other series, let alone a whole other episode. So it's usually, sites that you see, like lynda.com is a big example of that type of website, probably one of the most successful. But it's usually online courses, typically based around an authority teaching a specialist subject, and usually in the $20, $30, $40, $50 range.
Per month. Yep.
Per month. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So what I'm fascinated with about membership sites, and a bunch of my clients have launched membership sites with webinars, is when you're trying to get people to join a membership site, a continuity program, it's a little bit different than selling a one-off training program. And Mike, we talked about this right before we hopped on the podcast. And it's funny because when you have a membership site, a continuity, and you say, hey, it's going to be $50 a month rather than like a flat fee of $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, it's a different mentality because you've got a commitment tied to it. And sometimes I actually find it a little bit more difficult to sell when it's $50 a month than, say, just a flat fee. What are the different types of ways that you've tested to sell your membership sites?
I mean, what you're saying there about the difficulty is absolutely right, but it's usually not because of the commitment. People who, when they see $50 a month, they really just see $50 in most cases. And if you do have people who are a little more pragmatic and do think, okay, well, $50 a month, that means $600 a year. Usually you'll have an annual option that is discounted. You typically pay the equivalent of 10 months instead of 12. That serves that sort of rational thinking. So, it's usually not the commitment that makes it difficult to sell. It's the fact that $50 price point doesn't really give you much room to play with if you want to, use webinars. And this is absolutely not to downplay anybody who's selling $2,000 courses and the amount of work and effort that goes into it, but you can do so much more on a webinar in terms of your sales tactics when you've got a $2,000 product, because you've got a hell of a lot more margin to play with. And also the big difference with memberships that makes it difficult is everybody's going to be in there and that payment's going to be recurring. And so if you have a member who joins in January who's paying $50 a month, and then you all of a sudden in February start to make all this noise about the fact that people could join for $25 a month, your existing members, they're not going to be very happy. So you have a lot more limitations, a lot more restrictions in terms of how creative you can be with your sales and marketing strategies. So because of that, you have to be a lot more transparent in your marketing, which isn't a bad thing. By the way, you need to remember that the people who sign up for your membership, you want them to stick around long term, and so you can't trick, you can't manipulate, you can't dupe people into signing up in the way that some people may do with a course, because those guys are going to be in your community and they're going to figure out that you're not delivering on your promises. So we find organic marketing as the bedrock of what you're doing. It's a slower burn, but a membership is a slow burn model. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Unlike with a lot of other types of online products, you very much need to be a farmer with your marketing for a membership rather than a hunter. Hit and run, quick marketing tactics typically don't work as well for the reasons that we just mentioned. So, putting out regular, consistent content, creating blogs that are useful, podcasts that are useful, and finding ways to connect the dots between your content marketing and the content that's inside your membership. So if you come to a blog post and someone comes to a blog post, then the natural next step of the lead magnet should move them closer to something that's in the membership. So they opt in, get a lead magnet that addresses a problem that your membership solves, that moves them further down. Then maybe you do use a webinar that digs into that particular element of what you cover in your membership even more. So it just becomes this natural pathway, So the only roadblock to someone joining your membership is how committed they are to having their problem solved. So, in terms of your foundation marketing, that kind of needs to be it. And then, how you use your sales funnel, how you utilize things like webinars. You can still use a webinar even though you're not selling a high ticket item. You just need to realize you have to be more creative. If you're offering a special time limited deal on your webinar and your membership is $50 a month and your deal is we will give you a 20% discount. Well, if someone's not going to pay $50 a month, they won't pay $40.
Yeah.
If someone's not going to pay $50, they probably won't pay $30. And as soon as you get to a point, if you're discounting more than 40 to 50%, then you're eating way too much into your margin because you're dealing with such a small amount of margin to play with. You need massive quantities. So that's when you need to start to look at things, and these are things that work very well, like introducing perhaps a payment option that isn't publicly available, like a lifetime membership. Or if your membership's only available for monthly subscription, then on your webinars, you offer an annual option. That is largely discounted because when it's an annual, then it becomes mid to high ticket. Then a $50 a month membership, that's a $600 a month product that you can play with on your webinar and in your sales funnels and stuff like that. So you have to be more creative. You have to recognize the limitations. You have to remember that any promotion or any marketing you do needs to take into consideration that you have existing members and existing customers who you need to continue paying you. And as such, you can't be offering new customers much better deals than your existing members are getting, or you'll lose those existing members. So there's a lot more to think about on that front. But certainly by being a lot more creative, you can build up that, that recurring base over time. And best thing about that recurring revenue, it continues to grow and grow and grow. So you're not starting from zero every month.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And so just to recap real quick, because there was a lot of great information in there.
Sorry, yeah, I should have warned you before this, Joel. You mentioned, the podcast probably be 15, 20 minutes. And I'm thinking, yeah, man, he hasn't heard me. Just go on.
That's okay. That's quite all right. So, but just to recap kind of what you talked about, there's a couple really key things that I just want to highlight for you if you're listening. Now that you're listening, I should say that membership sites are a different model and they are a marathon and not a sprint. And with a lot of people that I see inside of the webinar space, they want to use that to sell a high ticket. And as Mike was saying, you have to think about it differently because number one, this will continue to grow and it'll snowball, and you do achieve that kind of lifestyle design if you set this up correctly. And by implementing webinars, you do have to be careful about your existing members, right? You can't tick them off because you could lose them very much, very quickly. And so offerings.
Yeah, and it's worth remembering as well that when someone does join your membership, they still will most likely check out your webinars and they'll opt into your email lists, so it's easy to assume that once someone's past that point of being sold, that they're not going to see or pay any attention to how you're marketing to non-members. Some people will sign up for a webinar thinking it's a member training.
Yep. And
then they see your offer and they think, hold on, what the hell's going on here?
That's good to know. I never even considered that before, but it makes a whole lot of sense. It's like you can't restrict your webinar from people. You can't prevent them from showing up. So very cool. So let's pivot a little bit and Mike, let's talk about your membership site with the membership guys. Talk about how you sell access to your program using your automated webinar.
Yeah, sure. So our membership site, about membership sites, how's that for Inception? Member Site Academy. We have essentially an approach of just having as many open doors as possible. We are very much following that be everywhere kind of strategy. Partly because we kind of pulled the trigger on our membership in a pretty short time scale. So we only gave ourselves a few month run up between launching our blog at the membership guys and opening our membership site. That's typically not what we recommend to people. We recommend people put in a bit more time before that. But because of that short lead up, being everywhere, getting visible, just producing helpful content in a variety of different formats and challenges at a variety of different levels. So having the blog post, having the podcast, but then for the people who opt in, having webinars that, again, just provide that natural next step in solving someone's problem. And so, we talked about this before we started here, like, we haven't gone all in on webinars, and that's not because we don't believe in them. We've worked with several multi-6, 7-figure memberships that make very highly effective use of webinars. So we know what we can do with them. It's not something that we've pulled the trigger on because there's other pieces we want to align. But even so, we have a single automated webinar. We don't do any of the trickery about making it appear live or any of that nonsense, because I've been on webinars, which I'm sure you have too.
Oh, yes.
Where it's the middle of July and the first words out of the presenters' mouths is, "Hope you all had a great Christmas." I can't even remember Christmas. That was 7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't dress it up. We position it as just an online training session. You choose your time. We use EverWebinar for it. So, even without using the additional gimmicks, it gives us a lot to play with. We don't make any sort of offer. We don't have any scarcity whatsoever. So we kind of do all, we do it the way you're not supposed to. We just say this is the price point. It will be going up probably at some point in the future, but the price you join with now, you lock in for the life of your membership, which should be true of any membership site. It should never increase the price of current members, and it converts at between 10 and 15% just on autopilot. And a large part of that, I think, is simply because it caters to a very, very specific need within a very specific segment of our audience. And it gives a good taster. And it's just about connecting the dots. Very much my philosophy of, we start with what's in our membership in terms of content. So we have a course that's called our Membership Lifecycle Course, which is about how do you get and hold on to members. So obviously membership retention and the whole strategies around how you keep members is as important, if not more important, than how you get those members. And so we work backwards from that. So from there, we work backwards and created a webinar. From the webinar, we worked backwards and created the opt-in. From the opt-in, we worked backwards and created the blog post. So every stage of that funnel is just another step towards. And in doing that, it just makes it a no-brainer that by the end of that webinar, if you want to actually solve this issue, if you want to improve retention, you join the membership, because we only really pitch you the part of the membership that is directly related to what that webinar is about. And that's kind of, again, that's the other challenge with a membership, because a lot of memberships, unless it's specifically an online course, you will have a variety of different topics in there. You might have lots of little courses. So we've got 20 to 30, like 60 and 90 minute on average long courses in there. It makes it hard to sell, because it's just an all-encompassing thing as opposed to something specific like a course. So, a webinar is a good way of actually pitching just one specific part of your membership, or pitching how your membership addresses the very particular interest or problem that got someone to sign up to your webinar in the first place.
I love that. There's a couple things that I really love about what you just talked about. First of all, is this open door aspect of the sale, being everywhere all the time, or just having as many different, I guess, kind of arms or spider webs out there to capture them and give them the opportunity to buy, even if you don't implement scarcity. Because one of the great things about webinars and using them to sell information, and I preach this no matter if they're selling a course, if they're selling a membership site, it's that it is the most congruent method, a sales conversion method for e-learning info products, because you're using education to sell them most likely more education.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And that's why they work so well, even if you do a very lighthearted sales pitch. Because if they sign up for a webinar on the membership guys and they're like, okay, I want to learn about growing my membership, right? They engage with you, they learn from you, And if you give them great content at the end, you basically just say like, listen, we've only been able to spend an hour together. I've been trying to give you as much value as possible, but you should check out more inside of our membership area. And, here's the link. And it's like, you just got to make sure you capture it, strike while the iron's hot. And the iron gets really hot when you give them great content.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think people are so afraid of trying to ask for any form of action. And so, especially when it comes to, the sale, but you are genuinely doing a disservice if you don't tell people what happens next. I'm sure plenty of your listeners are fans of Game of Thrones and the Game of Thrones series. And I'm sure that the nerdier ones who read the books like I do, they're pretty mad at the fact that George R. R. Martin is taking his sweet ass time to produce the next book, because we want to know what happens next. When you don't know what happens next, you get angry. And if he dies, crossing myself here that it doesn't happen, but if he passes, because he's an old guy and he's not a slender guy, if he passes, there'll be grief, but there'll be anger. People will rage on social media because they have no way of knowing what happens next. You are doing a disservice to people if you don't give them the next step, the next chapter. And, when you say, the fact you said using education to sell education, use content to sell content, use community to sell community, it makes sense. And when you're doing that, people will want that next step at the end of it. So hesitating or viewing it as a sales pitch, it's not even a sales pitch. It's just, this is what happens next. If you want it, it's there. This is how you get your hands on it. But, my thought process with any piece of content, webinar, or what have you, is that even if someone doesn't take the action, they need to leave with value. They need to have had a problem solved, because even if, they don't join your membership on the back of watching the webinar, or they don't opt in on the back of reading the blog post or what have you, if you've still solved a small problem for them, they then associate you with being a problem solver. And while the timing may not be right for them right now, in their minds, they have the trust in you to solve the small problems, so they're going to trust you to solve the bigger problems too. And sometimes it is just timing. So, making sure that you actually make it clear and easy of what the next step is for people who are in the place to do it right now, but having those open doors so that if someone doesn't sign up off the webinar, they will see something from you on Facebook the next day within your Facebook group that they're in. They will get an email from you. They will see a new podcast episode pop up. They'll see you posting quote stuff on Instagram. And I think particularly with memberships, because it is that marathon, you need to be that farmer. If you're farming, you've got to sow those seeds. You've got to get them out there. You're not just going to stick everything in one, square foot area and hope that you grow the most dense crops in the world. You spread them about. You get them all over the place. So, yeah, that's a terrible analogy, by the way. I know nothing about.
Well, I picked up one quote that I'm going to totally call you out on. I mean, like in a very good way, because it's hilarious, but it's so true. And you said it earlier. You said, don't make them angry, give them a call to action. If you don't give them a call to action, they're going to be pissed at you.
Yeah. Like, seriously, like, don't leave me hanging.
Yeah.
If you just spend 45 minutes or so, like, blowing my mind with awesome content, and, it's clearly not something that this is all the answers you'll ever need about the subject and the theme, but this is everything I can give you in 45 minutes. Like, if you only actually have 45 minutes worth of value to provide, if you can't provide anything beyond that, then you may need to try something else in life, another station in life. The assumption is that you will be able to provide value way beyond that 45 minutes. And so you need to tell me what. In the same way that, if you've only got 1 hour for a TV show, like, you don't want to be a one-off special in business terms. What's next? What's coming up? How do I get that? How do I access more of what you've just given me?
That's great. I can't agree with that more. So what I want to do kind of as we wrap up here, Mike, we talked about this before, but So somebody's got a membership site. They've got $30 a month or $50 a month, and they can sell that directly from a webinar, and they can do a very easy, I shouldn't say easy, but a very lighthearted sales pitch if they give them content, right? You mentioned before that some of your community members are selling $2,000 courses, and then as an upsell, they're using membership sites to kind of get a little bit more. Tell me a little bit about that strategy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think some of the best ways of actually using something like a webinar to sell a membership is to try and find an angle that makes it mid to high ticket. And, that can either be reframing the membership offering in that way, or essentially attaching it to an existing high ticket product. So whether it's a course or a program or what have you. And this is something that actually the guys at Founder, Nathan Chan, they did extremely well. They launched a course on Instagram. It was called Instagram Domination. And it was a $2,000 course. And they basically launched their Founder Club membership on the back of that. So for anybody buying the $2,000 course, the upsell to that was the first month of your membership for $50. And if you liked it, you just carry on your subscription. So it was very much framed as get the course and the first month of your membership. If someone's paying $2,000, they'll pay $2,050. So that makes it a great upsell, but it makes it a great downsell as well, because to someone who can't afford $2,000, $50 seems like a steal. So having that dual purpose of not making the membership the main attraction and the main offer that you're making, but using it as a simultaneous upsell and downsell, positions it from essentially in the psychological, the subconscious workings that people go through when they weigh up whether they're getting a good deal, good bargain, and all that sort of stuff as they make the buying decision. It makes it a no-brainer in both directions. And, this strategy has been used by some of our members where even, we're talking high ticket, but even on courses where it's $400 or $500, and they've either used that upsell, downsell, or as a bonus, they've included 30 days free membership. And again, you're capturing that payment information. As long as you're transparent and clear about it, this is where some of the sketchier elements in the online marketing world ruin it for the rest of us, because they'll not tell you that you will automatically be rebuilt. So you have to be very careful about that. But, using a 30-day trial, especially if you don't have a trial publicly available, and throwing it in there when somebody's purchasing something else, again, it makes it that no-brainer. It leverages the whole risk reversal approach that Jay Abrahams talks about, where it's a 30-day free trial. You're literally paying nothing. You either pay $500 for this course, or you pay $500 for this course and access to loads of awesome stuff. So what'll it be? $500 or $500? So it's just thinking about things in different ways. And those kind of strategies. Some of the other stuff, something that clients that we worked with, is something that's worked very well with them, is offering a lifetime membership that was only ever made available on webinars. So, these are webinars actually that it worked well when marketed to cold traffic or in terms of non-members, but also to existing members, because, if someone's been a member for a year or two and they're loving it, and you go on, you offer them the option of paying for a lifetime membership, if they were planning on continuing to subscribe anyway, then right now that may be where their head's at, but actually it may be that after a year or two they just dropped off. And so by offering that lifetime value, it's prolonging the overall member lifetime value to you if you're offering that lifetime offer, because what you charge for that is more than they would have paid you had you just had them renew as normal. But you get to use the exclusivity factor to ramp up the scarcity, because this lifetime offer is only available for 48 hours and will never be available again, and all that sort of stuff. So it's just thinking about things differently can make this stuff work for you.
I love the upsell option. I've got a follow-up question. I've seen people do, actually this is one of the ones that we did. We crushed it with tying in a course plus membership all in one offer. So there was no upsell.
Yeah.
It was, $9.97 for the course. And then what they got was if they purchased the course, they got $100 per month discount on the membership. So the membership was normally $297 a month, but if they purchased the $9.97 course, they got $100 per month discount on the membership. So I'm curious, because you mentioned earlier that you want to make that membership site transparent and the price transparent for everybody. So when you did the $2,000 course and let's say $50 a month upsell or a downsell, is that price still publicly available, or is that special to people who go
publicly
through that
available?
Funnel?
Yeah, publicly available. So it's more about because particularly with if people are on that webinar and they've come into the funnel because of an interest in what that course is specifically going to be about, your membership is likely to be a bit broader than the course, and certainly in those examples, the membership was more broadly online business based. But everyone who was there on the founder example, they were there because of Instagram, and so these are people who may not have ordinarily come across the membership, so they're sold on the extra value that they're getting. And also, if you're launching a membership as well, where yes, it's publicly available, but actually it's only just become publicly available, you can do. You can do discounts, especially if you're launching. You should always have some sort of launch pricing, kind of just a given. You can discount the monthly, and in fact, actually, a friend of mine, Chris Ducker, we've been involved in his membership, Upreneur. And he's just opened his doors and he's basically selling a 3-month kind of facilitated program with the membership baked into it. So you get X amount. I think there's an additional 3 months of access to the regular membership after that. And then from there, the recurring kicks in. And that recurring is lower than what the regular monthly payments have been. If you're doing that, you can't cut it down too far. And as long as you kind of know and you can feel comfortable in answering the question from an existing member, like, why is that person only paying $50 when I'm paying $60? Then it becomes a lot easier to actually offer that sort of stuff. People understand that, sometimes something might be $10 or so cheaper than what you paid for it. What they won't like is if it's 50% cheaper. And they kind of find out. So, I think it's just the recurring theme. You just need to be a bit more thoughtful, a bit more considered, because there's a lot more elements in the mix with a membership site versus selling a more traditional product or services and stuff like that.
Incredible. Mike, that was great, man. There was tons of content that we talked about today, and I'm really excited that you shared your knowledge with membership sites and membership continuity programs, because it's just something that all businesses need, really. And so I'm glad that you shed a light on the different approaches that you have to consider when somebody goes into launching a membership program and selling a membership program and pricing a membership program, because these people are with you for the long haul. They're building a relationship with you. And so when they're getting ready to launch one, you just have to be considerate and be aware of the long-term play. So lots of great information that you shared, and I really enjoyed the really different pricing strategies. You can do the high ticket, which is if you want to use a webinar, it's great for that. Or you can just have a webinar that's kind of stuck on your website somewhere as part of like a grander funnel where it's this open door policy that you talked about, where you just make the offer in a different medium, in a different place on your website.
Yeah, and I think all of us, in the online marketing space, I think we all think people pay more attention to what we're doing than they do. I think we assume that if someone reads our blogs, they also are on our email list, they listen to our podcast, they're on our YouTube channel and all that sort of stuff. And the truth is, someone could be your biggest fan and never sign up to your email list. Like, it could happen. Some people just don't trust submitting their email address. I wonder why that might be. So they may, if the only way someone can get in your webinar is by being on your email list, like, that doesn't mean that person would never join your membership. It's the same as if the only way someone could join your membership is by going through your 10-stage funnel. Like most of our members, genuinely about 30%, come direct. They either hit the blog, they see the call to action, they click it, read the sales page and join, or they come direct from Google, which honestly I can't actually quite figure out on our membership, because all our content, our membership site's separate to our content site, and all the membership and all the content in the membership is behind a paywall. But yet we get a whole bunch of people just come from Google, clicking sign up straight away. So people come in at different stages. The assumption that everyone starts at stage one or step one of the funnel and then works their way through in a linear fashion, and that there should be no other inroads. I think Scott Orford does a very good job of actually blowing up that concept and showing, some people will come in hot, some people will come in warm, some people will be ice cold. And, I think his SSF methods is probably one of the best illustrations of that. But same goes for your content. Have your content, have your webinar just there for people to be able to register for it. Because some people, that might be all they need. They might just hit your site. That webinar looks interesting. Attend it, sign up straight away. They don't necessarily need to go article to upsell to 3 emails to the webinar and all that sort of stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, Scott's going to be a guest on the podcast in about a week and a half. So
awesome.
I'll let him know that you dropped his name on here.
Yep.
Okay, Mike. So let's wrap up and tell us where my listeners can go and find information about your stuff and what you're doing now.
Sure. So first, thanks for having me on and giving me the opportunity to babble on about memberships. You don't call yourself the membership guys if you don't love just waffling on about this stuff. So I appreciate it. All our best stuff is at themembershipguys.com. So you can head there. Our membership site is membersiteacademy.com. And you can grab me on Twitter at membershipguys as well. And let me know whether you can make it through this accent and whether you've enjoyed anything from that I've been saying. I know that they've enjoyed this content. I've enjoyed this content. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. So we will include links to your website down in the show notes below. Mike, I want to give you a quick, just huge thank you for hopping on and sharing your knowledge, sharing your content. And anybody who's considering building a membership site, highly recommend go checking out his content. I read it over the past week. It's really solid, and there's a lot of great information that you can pick up from there. So go check out his website and give him some love and just connect with him where he just gave you the options to do so. So Mike, I want to say thank you again one last time, and we're going to wrap up our interview right now. And if you just want to hang on for a couple more minutes after we wrap up, we can dial things up. But for everybody else who's still listening, if you're still listening, go check out membershipguys.com, and we will catch you on the next episode of Sold with Webinars. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. You can also follow and watch the behind-the-scenes look at how I'm personally launching a brand new 6- and 7-figure product from scratch at soldwithwebinars.com/TV. And if you'd like to come hang out with other fellow experts, join our Facebook group at soldwithwebinars.com/experts. Join us next time, and I'll see you there.